You ever realize when like everything is falling apart in your life that your problems feel as big as the sky? Like there's no space left for you to breathe. You're just like gasping for air, almost like it almost feels like you're drowning. It feels like everything's pressing in on you, the walls are pressing in, and then it feels like this God, if there even is a God, he feels so distant and far away, and he feels so small. I understand that feeling, and I know that feeling pretty well. And I want to talk to you guys about why that happens and what the truth actually is. Here's what I've noticed in my own life, that the farther that I feel from God, the bigger my problems seem to look. And the bigger my problems seem to look, the further I feel from God. And it just feels like this loop, and from my own experience, it will run you to the ground if you let it. But here's the thing about distance and perspective. They lie to you. Have you guys ever seen like a water tower before? Okay, so most of us probably have. If you've ever seen a water tower before, when you're driving down the highway and you're far away from it, it looks pretty small. It almost seems insignificant. It's like this little structure that you see down the highway. But you drive to it, you pull up close to it, you get right underneath it, and then all of a sudden this one thing that once looked really, really small is now massive. You see, the size never changed. It was always big. It was just your distance. Your distance just told you a different story. That's what's happening when it feels like your life is just swallowing you whole. God hasn't gotten smaller. You've just gotten more distant. And distance distorts everything. Think about your closest friend for a moment. You know them pretty well. You know how they think, what they would do in certain situations, their favorite food, their favorite ice cream. You know almost all about them. And you trust them, not because you read about them somewhere, but because you know them. And the same thing is true here with God. The closer you are to him, the bigger he will become in your life. And the bigger he becomes in your life, the more your problems begin to look exactly like they are. They're not as big as you once had perceived them to be. They're just temporary, finite things that are being held by someone who is infinitely bigger than them. There's a moment that Matthew records in Matthew chapter 14 that kind of exemplifies this moment. So let me set up the scene really quickly here. So we have the disciples. It's the middle of the night right now. They're in a boat together. They're currently leaving Capernaum, and they have already been rowing like 3 or 4 miles. And if you've ever like rowed before, been doing like the row machine in the gym, rowing even a mile is hard. Now rowing it in the middle of a storm, in the middle of the night, that is very, very difficult. So you can imagine how they're feeling right now, how they can be feeling exhausted and frustrated and tired and probably scared too. The Bible records them even being frightened because of the storms and the waves around them. And then they see this figure walking on the water that's coming towards them. Originally, they recorded as being a ghost. Some of the Gospels recorded being a ghost that they see, and they get frightened by it. But then Jesus tells them in his eye, "Don't be afraid." So then they know that, okay, this is Jesus walking on water. And Peter, being Peter, says, "Lord, if it's you, call me out onto the water." And then Jesus says, "Peter, come." So, like, Peter steps out of the boat and he walks on the water. Like, can you imagine that? Like, just think about this for a second. He is just an ordinary fisherman doing something that should be physically impossible. And he's doing this because his eyes are locked on Jesus. And then he looks at the waves. And that's when everything changes. The moment his focus shifts from Jesus to the storm around him, he sinks. Not slowly, immediately. And Jesus reaches out and he grabs him and he helps him out of the water, and he asks Peter, "Why did you doubt?" He didn't say, "Peter, why did you get out of the boat?" He didn't say, "Peter, why did you think you could do this?" He said, "Why did you doubt when you were already walking on the water? When you were already doing it, why did you doubt?" You see, it's because the storm didn't change, the waves didn't get bigger. His circumstances were identical the moment he stepped out of the boat to the moment he sank. The only thing that changed was what he was looking at. Personally, I spent a long time just staring at my problems and then feeling like they're as bigger than the sky. And I was just searching for something that could, I guess, fix my problems, or that could hold me all together, or something that was bigger than my problems, something that could help me. And what I ended up finding was not something I was passed down to as a kid, or something I inherited from somebody else, but what I found was that exact story in Matthew 14. Just the historical weight of who Jesus is, the evidence behind the resurrection, the way his story doesn't just explain the world, that it actually redeems it. And here's what I know now that a few years ago I didn't really understand. Like, The gospel is not a self-help book. It's not a moral code. It's a story. It's history. And you could technically call it, yes, technically it is a story, although it's not the best thing to call it. But, I mean, it's the greatest story ever told. Then the whole point of that story is that the things that are pressing down on you, the shame, the emptiness of feeling that you're too far gone, that it was already dealt with on a wooden cross by someone who knew exactly what he was doing. That's not something small. That's just the water tower up close. So here is where I want to leave you. Whatever is overwhelming you right now, whatever is pressing in on you, whatever is leaving you feeling like there's no left to breathe, whatever is leaving you feeling like you're drowning, it is not bigger than what you have access to. It just looks that way from a distance. So I encourage you to drive toward the tower, get close to it, stand underneath it, and then you'll begin to see how big it actually is and how small your problems really are. So I guess my closing question is this. When was the last time you actually got close to see how big God actually is? And what's been keeping you at a distance? Keep the faith.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light.